We're gonna be shiny. We're gonna be shiny in this bitch. Shiny, shiny, shiny in this bitch. Hey, how's it going? How's life? My name is Sophia. Welcome back to my channel. I don't know if you can notice. I don't know if you noticed, but like my shelves, they're looking a bit funky today, and that is because I have decided to do an unhaul. I've decided to do an unhaul because there are so many books on my shelves that I'm trying to curate my collection of books so that when you see it, it reflects me and my reading taste. And so I feel like it's not, some of it is curated, but like not all of it, you know what I'm saying? And so I'm just going through unhauling it. This is going to be mostly a contemporary unhaul. Now when I first started booktube, I didn't really know what my reading tastes were. I didn't really know what I liked. I would just pick up a book and just read it, and still read it even if I hated it. But I feel like now that I'm older, now that I am more read, I feel like I know my tastes better than back in the day. But yeah, so this is just going to be a mostly contemporary. I got a couple of fantasies. I got two fantasies, a sci-fi and a historical fiction, a couple magical realisms. But yeah, for the most part, everything's gonna be fantasy. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. Quite a few of these books are going to be books that I haven't read, or books that I no longer have interest in reading. If I ever change my mind, I could just check it out from the library, but until then, the answer is no, I'm not gonna read it. The very first book I'm going to be unhauling is Vengeance Road by Erin Bowman. All I really know about this is that this is a historical young adult fantasy. I completely forgot what this was about. I read this a couple of years ago and I really enjoyed it when I first read it, but it just hasn't stuck with me, you know? I've been holding on to it simply for nostalgia because, you know, when you first join booktube and you're just buying all the books, I remember liking it. I remember giving it, I think, a 4, either a 4 or 5 stars. But as I said, my reading tastes have changed. I don't know if I were to go back and reread this, if I would still feel the same. But yeah, so that's gonna be the first book I'm getting rid of. Also, for this unhaul, I'm not gonna go in depth with the synopsis simply because I have quite a few books to talk about and this video would be forever long, and I don't want to edit a forever long video. So the next book, this is a book I'm on the fence about because I don't know, and that is going to be Wild Beauty by Anna Marie McLemore. I bought this only because it's the Owl Crate exclusive edition. I don't know, there's a thing to be said about special editions and consumerism, but that's a topic for another day. I got FOMO. That's basically what it was. I saw people hauling this pretty edition of the Owl Crate edition, and I was just like, ooh, that's pretty and it sounds vaguely interesting, so I have to own it. I'm on the fence about this. I still am interested in reading it, but it's magical realism, and I've tried to read magical realism before and I just couldn't get into it, so I might try this again with the audiobook. Like, I can be convinced. Like, if you've read this book and you've loved it, let me know down below in the comment section and I might just hold on to it. So the next book I want to talk about is by the same author, and that is When the Moon Was Ours, also by Marie McLemore. Yeah, see, I tried reading this. I got, I think, a couple pages in and I DNF'd it because I was just like, I wasn't in the mood to read it. And honestly, I don't know if I will ever be in the mood for magical realism. The next book I have to talk about is a collection of, it's an anthology, yeah. And that is Slasher Girls and Monster Boys, written by a whole bunch of YA authors. Honestly, this is like a Halloween anthology, and that was all I needed to pick it up. And it has some pretty big names. You've got Jay Kristoff, Marie Lu, Lee Bardugo, and a bunch of other popular authors. And so honestly, that's like the only reason why I bought this. Yeah, see, once again, I tried to read one of the stories, but I lost interest. And I feel like anthologies are hit or miss, because some stories are like really good and others are just like, ah. So if I'm ever interested in reading this, I could just look up the anthologies or like borrow it from my library. So this does not need to be taking up space on my shelves. Ooh, this next author, she's actually a favorite author of mine. I adored her other series that she came out with, but for some reason this one, I'm just not interested in picking up this specific one, and that is going to be Lips Touch 3 Times by Laini Taylor. This is a collection of 3 short stories, I believe, each one revolving around a kiss. And I picked it up immediately after I read the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy, because I adored it so much. So I thought that I would love this. Once again, I started reading the first short story, lost interest in it, and have no interest in continuing on. I'm a fake fan, I know. The next book I have to talk about is a Pulitzer Prize. It's an award-winning, it's highbrow literary fiction, and that is going to be All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. I've heard nothing but good things about this story. Like, everyone, even people I know in real life that have read it, have been like, oh my gosh, it's so good. I have started this. I think I've started this at least 3 times, and I've just lost interest every single time I've tried to pick it up. It's time that I admit to myself that I'm never gonna pick this up. It's just, and plus historical fiction isn't my bread and butter. I don't know, there's just something about me and historical fiction, we just don't jive together, you know? The next book I have to unhaul is When Dimple Met Rishi by Sandhya Menon. I started this and I got about 80 pages in, and I was enjoying it when I was reading it, but then again, my mood changed. It's the struggle of being a mood reader. One moment I was in the mood to read it, the next moment I wasn't. And I started this book, I pre-ordered this book, started reading it, and I didn't finish it. I really lost interest in it. The next book I have to talk about is Since You've Been Gone by, what is this, Morgan Matson. I bought this during my phase in YouTube. Like, when I was watching booktube videos, I bought this during that phase where somebody would just mention a book and I'd be like, ooh, sounds interesting, and I would immediately buy it. I have a lot of books throughout the years that I've done this with, and for the most part I've unhauled all of them. I read another Morgan Matson. I think I started The Unexpected Everything, or one of her other books, and I didn't like it. I think I got a few pages in and I just lost interest. I thought it was boring and I didn't really care about the characters. And Morgan Matson tends to write chunky contemporaries. Like this bad boy, how many pages? This book is 450 pages, almost 500 pages, and I'm just like, why is this so chunky? What are you doing in a contemporary novel for it to be this thick? It doesn't look that thick, but like, Morgan Matson, she writes some chunky contemporaries, and if I'm gonna read a chunky book, I want it to be not taking place in this world. The next two books I'm trying to unhaul are going to be Poison Study as well as Magic Study by Maria V. Schneider. Now, I tried to read Poison Study a couple of years back and I got bored with it. I DNF a lot of books. Like if the book doesn't have me within like the first 50 to 100 pages, then chances are I'm gonna DNF it. But I really did try to push through it, but like I was bored. And plus, I've heard some not so great things about representation, about the rep of POCs in this book. I think Starla from Starla Reads mentions that the trans rep is questionable and the POC rep is also questionable. So I'm just like I could read these books with questionable representationable. I could read these books with questionable representation, or I could just read own voices novels with better representation in them. No tea, no shade. The next book I am going to unhaul is Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. Now, unless you've been living under a rock, you know the issues surrounding Rainbow Rowell and her poor representation of POCs, especially in Eleanor and Park. And I don't want to support this author and I don't want her on my shelves. Simple as that. The next book I'm going to unhaul is going to be this is actually Rachel's from Let Me in the Library. This is one of her favorite books, and that is going to be Sleeping Giants by Sauve Nouvelle. If you've seen my wrap up, I'll link it up above somewhere, you will know that I didn't like this. I hated it. I hated the characters. I hated the way it was written. I hated everything about this. So, why keep it on my shelves if I couldn't stand it? So yeah, I'm getting rid of this one. The next book I'm getting rid of is going to be Wild Beauty. Oh no. Wild Cards, my bad. Wild Cards by Simone Eccles. I don't even know what this is about. Okay, this for me was a nostalgia buy. So for Simone Eccles, I owned her, I read her Perfect Chemistry trilogy back when I was in high school, and I was obsessed with it. I loved it. I thought it was the best thing in literature. If I read it now, I probably think it's trash, but and so when I heard that she was coming out with Wild Cards, and I think it's like the children of one of the main characters from the original trilogy, I was like, yes, I'm here for it. I need this in my life. And I bought it. Did I read it at the time? No. Did I lose interest in reading this? Yes. If I reread the series and if I read this book, I don't think I would like it. I think because I've read so many more books and so many more amazing books that like going back to this, it would just be, it would be a no-no. So yeah, I'm getting rid of this one. The next books I'm going to be unhaul is going to be the entire To All the Boys I've Loved Before trilogy. So this trilogy consists of To All the Boys I've Loved Before, I don't know if you can see it, White Balance, P.S. I Still Love You, and Always and Forever Laura Jean. Now, I read these fairly early on when the hype was still fresh during booktube, and I loved the first one. Thought the first one was so cute. It was just like eating cupcakes. I loved it. And then I read the second one and I was just like, was this necessary? Was it necessary to make this into a duology? I don't know, but that's just me though. And then the, what is it called, Always and Forever. Oops, these are in the wrong order. And then I read Always and Forever, which actually no, I didn't even read this. And then Always and Forever came out, and I heard that like each book progressively gets worse, and that like the third book was the most unnecessary out of all of them. And like I just lost interest in this. If I'm in the mood for a cute contemporary novel, I'll just rewatch the Netflix movie because it's so good. It's like one of the few times that Netflix actually did a good job on something. Don't come for me. Don't come for me. The next book I want to talk about is called Kids of Appetite by David Arnold. Once again, the synopsis sounded vaguely interesting to me. And so I bought it. I bought this, like, I probably bought this when this first came out, and I've never read it. I couldn't tell you what the synopsis is about. I think it involves some misfits. That's all I can say. But yeah, I've lost interest. I'm never gonna read this, and I'm just gonna let it go. Okay, so the next two books, I'm just gonna talk about them together. The next two books I have to talk about are from separate authors, but I'm gonna be unhauling them for the same reason, and that is going to be Falling into Place by Amy Zhang and All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven. You really can't see those. Oh well. Both of these books deal with mental health issues, and for me personally, you probably don't know this, but I also suffer from mental health issues, depression, anxiety, as well as ADHD. And so reading a book, a contemporary book about depression, I don't know if I will ever be in the right mindset to read these books, and I don't want to risk it. I don't want to risk being triggered by these books for the off chance that I may like it. So I'm going to be unhauling these, donating them to my library, and hopefully somebody else can read these books and love and adore them, because they'll do better at the library than just sitting on my shelf collecting dust. Yeah, so that was my unhaul. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope to see you soon with another video, and until then, I will see you soon. Bye.